My dear brothers and sisters, let me ask you something very honestly. How many of you lie down at night, your body exhausted, but your mind refuses to rest? You replay conversations that already ended. You imagine outcomes that have not happened. You worry about tomorrow as if Allah is not already there. And you wake up tired, not because you worked too hard, but because your heart never slept. Let me say this clearly, because some of us need to hear it without sugarcoating. You are not overthinking because you care too much. You are overthinking because you are trying to control what was never placed in your hands, and that is why your heart feels heavy. Allah did not create you to carry the burden of the unseen. He created you to trust Him with it. Overthinking is a trap. Tawakkul is the exit. My dear brothers and sisters, many people misunderstand overthinking. They assume that because their mind is busy, they must be responsible. Because they are worrying, they must be mature. Because they are analyzing everything, they must be wise. But let us be honest with ourselves. If overthinking truly came from intelligence, it would lead you to clarity. It would lead you to calm decisions. It would lead you to trust. Instead, what does it usually lead to? Restlessness, anxiety, sleepless nights, a heart that feels tight for no clear reason. That is not intelligence. That is fear wearing a respectable mask. When someone says, I'm just being careful, ask them a simple question. Careful about what? Most of the time, they are not carefully planning success. They are carefully imagining failure. They are not thinking deeply about how Allah might open doors. They are thinking obsessively about how things could go wrong. That difference matters. Notice how your mind behaves when you overthink. It does not jump from one blessing to another. It does not replay moments of mercy. It does not obsess over how beautifully Allah has protected you in the past. Instead, it runs toward loss. What if I fail? What if I am rejected? What if people misunderstand me? What if everything collapses? That pattern alone should tell you something. This is not wisdom guiding your thoughts. This is fear hijacking your imagination. True intelligence is calm. True wisdom slows you down. It helps you separate what you can control from what you cannot. Overthinking does the opposite. It makes everything feel urgent, overwhelming, and personal. It convinces you that if you do not mentally suffer enough, something bad will happen, as if your anxiety is somehow a form of protection. But anxiety has never protected anyone. It has only exhausted them. Allah, in His mercy, exposes this illusion clearly. He tells us that shaitan threatens you with fear. He promises you loss. He whispers regret before anything even happens. Shaitan does not need to push you toward open sin all the time. Sometimes he is content to paralyze your heart. He is content to make you doubt Allah's care. He is content to make you feel unsafe in a universe that Allah Himself controls. Overthinking is one of His most subtle tools because it looks harmless. You are not shouting. You are not acting out. You are not disobeying outwardly. You are just thinking quietly, constantly. And that is why many people never question it. But inside, something dangerous is happening. Your heart is no longer resting with Allah. It is wrestling with imagined futures. It is negotiating with outcomes Allah never asked you to manage. When overthinking takes over, your trust in Allah does not disappear all at once. It erodes slowly. You still pray, but your prayer feels rushed. You still say you trust Allah, but your heart remains tense. You still make dua, but you immediately follow it with worry. That combination is exhausting because your tongue and your heart are no longer aligned. Fear makes you believe that thinking more will give you control. But control was never yours. Allah did not give you the responsibility of outcomes. He gave you responsibility of intention, effort, and patience. The rest belongs to Him. When you overthink, you cross that boundary. You step into a role that was never assigned to you. And the heart reacts the way it always does. When it carries something too heavy, it becomes anxious. Another sign that overthinking comes from fear is how repetitive it is. Wise thinking reaches a conclusion. Overthinking circles the same thought again and again without resolution. You replay conversations. You replay mistakes. You replay decisions that are already finished. What benefit is there in that? None. But fear thrives on repetition. It wants to keep the wound open. It wants to keep the heart unsettled. Allah created the human mind to reflect, not to torment itself. Reflection brings lessons. Overthinking brings punishment. Reflection helps you move forward. Overthinking traps you in place, and that is why it feels so draining. You are burning energy without movement. You are running without progress. Understand this clearly. If your thinking pulls you away from Allah's mercy, it is not productive. If it weakens your hope, it is not preparation. If it makes you forget how many times Allah has already helped you, it is not caution, it is fear. Fear tells you that you are alone. Tawakkul reminds you that Allah is with you. Fear tells you that everything depends on you. Tawakkul reminds you that everything depends on Allah. Fear keeps your heart tight. Tawakkul opens it. Once you recognize overthinking for what it truly is, you stop respecting it. You stop calling it responsibility. You stop calling it depth. You see it as a signal that your heart needs reassurance, not more mental noise. A signal that your trust needs strengthening, not more scenarios. My dear brothers and sisters, Allah does not expect you to predict the future. He expects you to rely on Him while walking toward it. When you understand that, the grip of overthinking begins to loosen. And that is the first step toward peace. My dear brothers and sisters, one of the biggest misunderstandings about tawakkul is the idea that it means switching your brain off and waiting for miracles. Some people hear the word tawakkul and assume it means sitting back, folding your arms and saying, Allah will take care of it while you make no effort, no preparation, no discipline. That is not tawakkul, that is negligence, and Islam never teaches negligence. At the same time, there is another extreme that is just as dangerous. This is where many people fall. They work, they plan, they try, they struggle, but they never let go. They act as if everything depends entirely on them. They exhaust themselves trying to control results, timelines, and reactions of people. This is not effort. This is panic disguised as hard work. True tawakkul lives in the middle. You do your part fully, sincerely, with excellence. Then you stop, you hand the outcome to Allah, and you allow your heart to rest. The Prophet taught us this balance beautifully. When a man asked whether he should tie his camel or trust Allah, the answer was clear. Tie your camel and trust Allah. Notice the order. Action first. Trust always. But once the camel is tied, you do not sit next to it all night imagining it escaping. That second part is where people fail. Many of us tie the camel and then refuse to leave it alone. We keep checking, we keep worrying, we keep imagining worst case scenarios. We keep reopening what we already placed in Allah's hands. That is not tawakkul. That is overthinking wearing religious language. Tawakkul means you accept your limits. It means you understand that effort is your responsibility, but outcomes belong to Allah alone. When you confuse these roles, your heart becomes tired. You pray, but you still panic. You plan, but you still fear. You make dua, but you still feel unsafe. That inner conflict is exhausting because your heart is trying to serve two masters, trust and control. Allah never asked you to predict the future. He never asked you to guarantee results. He asked you to walk toward Him with sincerity. When you overthink after doing your part, what you are really saying is, Ya Allah, I trust you, but not completely. And the heart knows this contradiction. That is why peace does not arrive. Some people say, if I stop worrying, I'll become careless. No, worry does not make you responsible. Clarity does, discipline does, intention does. Worry only drains you emotionally and clouds your judgment. It does not improve your decisions. In fact, it often makes them worse. Look at how Allah describes reliance upon Him. He says that whoever puts their trust in Allah, Allah is sufficient for them. Sufficient does not mean you will get exactly what you imagine. It means Allah will handle what you cannot. It means He will protect you in ways you may never notice. It means He will guide outcomes toward what is ultimately best for your akhirah, even if your ego is disappointed temporarily. Tawakkul also requires humility. Overthinking often comes from arrogance we do not recognize. A subtle belief that if we think hard enough, we can outsmart destiny. that if we stay anxious enough, we can prevent pain. But pain and ease are both part of Allah's decree. Your anxiety does not cancel trials, it only makes them heavier. When you truly practice tawakkul, something shifts inside you. You still care, but you are not desperate. You still plan, but you are not attached. You still try, but you are not afraid of failure. Because failure in the sight of Allah is not losing a job, a person, or an opportunity. Failure is losing your trust in Him. Some of you are stuck not because you did not do enough, but because you refused to release what you already did. You made the decision, but you keep questioning it. You prayed istikhara, but you keep doubting it. You asked Allah for guidance, but you keep replaying alternatives. That constant mental tug of war blocks peace. Tawakkul means when you say, Ya Allah, guide me, you are also ready to accept the path Allah chooses, even if it looks different from what you expected. It means you stop demanding guarantees. Allah never promised you certainty. He promised you care. My dear brothers and sisters, Allah is not asking you to stop thinking. He is asking you to stop carrying what belongs to Him. Think enough to act wisely, then stop. That stopping is not weakness. It is faith. When you finally understand tawakkul correctly, you realize something powerful. You were never meant to hold everything together. You were meant to hold onto Allah. And when you do, the heart becomes lighter, the mind becomes clearer, and peace begins to return. My dear brothers and sisters, one of the deepest causes of overthinking is the silent demand we place on Allah. Show me everything first, then I will be at peace. We want clarity before patience. We want guarantees before trust. We want to understand the entire road before taking the next step. But Allah never promised you the full picture. He promised you guidance for the next step. But Allah never promised you the full picture. If Allah were to open the entire future in front of you, most hearts would collapse under the weight of it. You would see losses that would scare you, tests that would overwhelm you, responsibilities you are not ready for yet. So Allah hides most of it, not to punish you, but to protect you. What you call uncertainty is often mercy in disguise. Overthinking comes from refusing this mercy. It comes from insisting on answers Allah deliberately withheld. You ask, why did this happen? What if this goes wrong? Where will this lead? And when answers do not come, your mind fills the silence with fear. But silence from Allah does not mean absence, it means timing. Understand this clearly. Allah sees the entire road. You see one step. He sees how this moment connects to your akhirah. You see how it affects your comfort. That difference alone should teach you humility. When you overthink, you are not just worrying. You are quietly objecting to not being in control of knowledge that belongs only to Allah. Allah tells us that if He were to hasten everything people asked for, they would be destroyed. Some of the delays you hate today are saving you from outcomes you would regret tomorrow. Some of the doors that did not open were protecting you from versions of life that would have broken your Imaan. But overthinking refuses to accept this. It says, if I can't see it, I can't trust it. That is backwards. Faith means trusting even when you cannot see. That is why it is called Imaan in the unseen. Look at how Allah tests people He loves. He does not always explain first. He tests, then He teaches. He does not always comfort immediately. He strengthens, then He comforts. If Allah gave you clarity before growth, you would never develop patience. You would never learn reliance. You would never deepen your connection with Him. Overthinking also comes from confusing preparation with prediction. Islam encourages preparation. It does not encourage obsession. You prepare your intention, you prepare your effort. You prepare your character. You do not prepare imaginary disasters. When your mind keeps running into the future, ask yourself honestly, has Allah asked me to be there yet? Most of the time the answer is no. Allah asks you to live today with sincerity, not tomorrow with panic. Tomorrow has its own Lord, and it is the same Lord who is taking care of you today. Another reason Allah hides the full picture is because growth happens gradually. If Allah showed you where you will end up, you might become arrogant or terrified. Either way, you would lose balance. So Allah reveals life in pieces so your heart can expand slowly. Overthinking rejects this process. It wants instant understanding. It wants to skip the discomfort of trust. But trust is built precisely in moments where answers are missing. That is where Imaan grows roots. Some of you are stuck because you keep asking questions Allah is not answering yet, not because He cannot, but because you are not ready. Readiness is not about intelligence. It is about emotional and spiritual capacity. Allah does not burden a soul beyond what it can bear, and that includes knowledge. Notice how peace enters your heart when you finally accept this truth. When you say, Ya Allah, I don't see it, but you do. That sentence alone removes a massive weight, because now you are no longer fighting reality. You are walking with it. Letting go of the need to know everything does not make you careless. It makes you grounded. It keeps you present. Overthinking pulls you into a future that does not exist yet. Tawakkul anchors you in the present where Allah's mercy is already active. My dear brothers and sisters, you were never meant to understand everything before trusting Allah. You were meant to trust Allah so that understanding comes at the right time. When you stop demanding the full picture, your heart finally relaxes. And in that relaxation, Allah places tranquility. Trust Him enough to walk without seeing the entire road. He has never lost anyone who relied on Him. My dear brothers and sisters, many people believe worship is limited to what you can see. Prayer, fasting, charity, recitation, these are the actions we recognize easily. But there is another form of worship that is quieter, heavier, and often more difficult. It is the worship of the heart, and letting go for the sake of Allah is one of the highest forms of it. Letting go is not something you do because you are tired. It is something you do because you trust Allah more than your own control. When you release what you cannot change, you are not giving up. You are submitting. And submission is the essence of Islam. Overthinking keeps the heart in a constant state of resistance. You are fighting reality. You are arguing with what already happened. You are negotiating with outcomes that Allah has already allowed. This inner resistance exhausts the soul. Letting go is the moment you stop fighting Allah's decree and start standing with it. Some people say, if I let go, it means I didn't care. That is not true. You can care deeply and still let go. Letting go does not mean you stop feeling. It means you stop trying to control what was never yours to control. You stop demanding answers. You stop replaying pain. You stop reopening doors Allah closed for your protection. When you let go for Allah's sake, it becomes worship. Because you are choosing obedience over obsession. You are choosing trust over fear. You are choosing humility over ego. The ego wants control. The heart wants peace. And peace only comes when the ego steps aside. Allah loves acts of worship that are hidden, the ones no one applauds, the ones no one sees. Letting go is like that. No one sees the moment you release an outcome in your heart. No one sees the internal surrender, but Allah sees it and Allah rewards it. Letting go also requires patience, not the loud kind that complains internally, but the quiet kind that rests. The kind that says, Ya Allah, I accept this even if it hurts. That acceptance does not come from weakness. It comes from certainty that Allah's wisdom is greater than your understanding. Many of you are holding on because you think pain means something went wrong. But pain does not always mean loss. Sometimes pain means growth. Sometimes it means redirection. Sometimes it means Allah is removing what your heart was attached to so it can attach more deeply to Him. Overthinking keeps pain alive. Letting go allows it to pass. Pain needs acknowledgement, not obsession. When you keep revisiting it, you turn a test into a prison. When you let go, you turn a test into a lesson. Letting go is also a form of gratitude. You are thanking Allah not only for what He gave, but also for what He took away. Because you trust that He does not remove anything without replacing it with something better, even if that replacement is not immediate or obvious. Some of you are waiting for closure, but closure does not always come from answers. Sometimes it comes from surrender. You may never understand why someone left, why a door closed, or why a plan collapsed. Closure comes when you say, Allah knows, and that is enough for me. This is not easy worship. This is not comfortable worship. This is worship that stretches the heart. but it is powerful because every time you let go sincerely, Allah replaces tension with tranquility. Not instantly, but steadily. My dear brothers and sisters, do not underestimate the weight of this act. When you let go for Allah, you are saying, I trust you with my heart, and Allah never betrays a heart that is placed in His care. Let go, not because you are weak, but because you believe, and that belief is worship. My dear brothers and sisters, Allah did not create your heart to live in a permanent state of stress. The heart was created to recognize Allah, to remember Him, and to find rest in that remembrance. When the heart is used for what it was created for, it feels light, focused, and alive. When it is misused, it becomes heavy, restless, and exhausted. Overthinking places your heart under constant tension. It keeps it alert, as if danger is always near, even when nothing is happening. You may be sitting quietly, but inside your heart is running. That is not how Allah designed it to function. Allah tells us clearly that hearts find tranquility in the remembrance of Allah. Notice what He does not say. He does not say hearts find tranquility in figuring everything out. He does not say hearts find tranquility in controlling outcomes. He does not say hearts find tranquility in endless analysis. Tranquility comes from remembrance, not mental struggle. When you overthink, your heart is being fed fear repeatedly. Fear of loss, fear of failure, fear of being misunderstood, fear of the future. And whatever you feed the heart consistently becomes its environment. A heart that lives in fear cannot feel safe, and a heart that does not feel safe cannot rest. Many people mistake this exhaustion for weakness. They say, I'm just not strong enough. No, you are tired because you are carrying weight that was never meant for you. Allah did not assign your heart the job of holding the future together. He assigned it the job of trusting Him through it. Think about how Allah designed the body. When a muscle stays tense for too long, it starts to ache. When it never relaxes, it becomes injured. The heart is no different. Constant emotional tension damages it slowly. That is why overthinking often leads to irritability, sadness, and spiritual numbness. The heart is signaling that it needs rest. And rest for the heart does not come from sleep alone. Many people sleep and wake up tired because their hearts never relaxed. True rest comes when the heart feels safe. And the only true safety is knowing that Allah is in control. Overthinking also confuses urgency with importance. Everything feels urgent. Every thought feels like it must be solved now. But Allah teaches us patience precisely because not everything requires immediate resolution. Some things unfold, some things heal, some things become clear with time. When you rush your heart, you rob it of peace. Another reason constant tension harms the heart is because it disconnects you from the present. Overthinking drags you into a future that does not exist yet, or a past that cannot be changed. Meanwhile, the present moment where Allah's mercy is already active is ignored. You miss today because you are mentally trapped elsewhere. Allah does not ask you to live everywhere at once. He asks you to live now with Him. When your heart is stretched across timelines it was never designed to occupy, it breaks down emotionally. A heart under constant tension also struggles in worship. Prayer feels rushed, dua feels distracted, dhikr feels heavy, not because you lack Imaan, but because the heart is overloaded. When the heart is tense, it cannot absorb spiritual nourishment properly. Letting go is how you allow the heart to relax. It is not about forgetting your responsibilities. It is about releasing unnecessary pressure. It is about telling your heart, you are safe. Allah is in charge. This is why people who truly trust Allah have a certain calm about them. Not because their lives are easy, but because their hearts are not fighting reality. They move through tests with stability because their hearts are not constantly bracing for impact. My dear brothers and sisters, your heart is an amana from Allah. It deserves care. It deserves rest. It deserves peace. Do not imprison it with constant tension. When you feel overwhelmed, ask yourself honestly, is Allah asking me to carry this right now? Most of the time, the answer is no. And when you release what is not yours to carry, the heart finally does what it was created to do. It rests in Allah. My dear brothers and sisters, one of the most painful effects of overthinking is that it keeps wounds open longer than Allah intended. Allah allows pain to teach, to cleanse, and to redirect. But overthinking turns pain into punishment. It makes the heart relive what it was meant to learn from and move past. When something hurts you, the heart needs time, patience, and trust to heal. But overthinking does the opposite. It keeps replaying the moment. It reopens the conversation. It re-examines the words. It reimagines what you should have said or done differently. Every replay is like tearing open a wound that was beginning to close. Healing does not require full understanding. Healing requires acceptance. Overthinking delays healing because it refuses to accept what already happened. It says, if I just analyze this one more time, I'll feel better. But you never do. You only feel more drained. Allah created emotional pain with a purpose. It slows you down. It humbles you. It pushes you closer to Him. But when you obsess over it, you change its function. Instead of drawing you toward Allah, it traps you inside your own mind. Some people believe that holding on to pain keeps them safe. They think, if I remember how much this hurt, I won't be hurt again. But fear does not protect you from pain. It only prevents you from healing. Allah did not design the heart to live in constant defense mode. Overthinking also confuses healing with forgetting. Healing does not mean pretending nothing happened. It means allowing what happened to settle into wisdom instead of remaining as raw emotion. That transformation cannot happen while you are constantly stirring the memory. Allah knows exactly how long each wound needs to heal. But when you overthink, you interfere with that process. You rush answers. You demand closure. You resist uncertainty. Healing, however, unfolds gradually, often in silence. Another reason overthinking delays healing is because it keeps you focused on yourself instead of Allah. Pain turns your attention inward and overthinking traps it there. Tawakkul gently redirects that attention back to Allah. It says, Ya Allah, I give you this pain. I trust you to handle what I cannot. That handover is where healing begins. Many of you are not broken. You are just stuck in the moment of injury. You keep returning to it mentally, even though Allah is calling you forward. He is not asking you to deny your pain. He is asking you to stop living inside it. Notice how relief begins the moment you stop replaying and start remembering Allah. Not because the memory disappears, but because it loses its power over you. The heart shifts from self-protection to divine reliance. Healing also requires courage. The courage to let go without knowing exactly how things will turn out. Overthinking feels safer because it gives the illusion of control. Healing requires surrender, and surrender feels risky to the ego. But Allah does not heal hearts that cling tightly to fear. He heals hearts that open themselves to Him. When you say, Ya Allah, I accept what you allowed and I trust you with what comes next, you create space for healing to enter. My dear brothers and sisters, stop punishing yourself with thoughts Allah never asked you to carry. Stop reopening wounds Allah is already healing. Trust the process Allah designed for your heart. Healing is not found in thinking more. Healing is found in letting go. My dear brothers and sisters, one of the greatest injustices we commit against ourselves is forgetting our own history with Allah. When overthinking takes over, it convinces you that this time is different, that this problem is too big, that this situation is too complicated, that Allah's help might not reach you now. But pause for a moment and be honest. Has Allah ever truly failed you before? Think back to the moments you were certain you would not survive, the times you thought there was no way out, the nights you cried in desperation. You are still here, not because you figured everything out, but because Allah carried you through what you could not handle on your own. Overthinking has a short memory. It forgets past mercy the moment a new test appears. It makes you doubt today what you trusted yesterday. It treats every challenge as if it is happening in isolation, disconnected from all the times Allah already showed up for you. Allah reminds us repeatedly to reflect on His favors, not just the obvious ones, but the quiet rescues. The disasters that never happened, the pain that could have been worse, the wrong turns you were protected from without realizing it. When you remember these things, something shifts in your heart. Fear loses its grip. Overthinking tells you, what if Allah doesn't help this time? Tawakkul responds, He already has many times before. And that response is not blind optimism. It is evidence-based faith. Your own life is proof. Some of you think trusting Allah means pretending you are not scared. That is not true. Trusting Allah means you feel the fear, but you do not obey it. You move forward despite it because your past experiences with Allah have taught you that He is reliable. When you forget Allah's past help, you begin to believe that everything depends on you. That belief is crushing because deep down you know you are limited. And when a limited being tries to carry unlimited responsibility, anxiety is the result. Allah does not change. Circumstances change. People change. Your strength fluctuates, but Allah remains the same. His mercy did not expire. His care did not weaken. His wisdom did not suddenly disappear. Overthinking also makes you exaggerate the present. It magnifies the problem until it blocks your view of everything else. But when you remember how Allah resolved previous tests, the current one shrinks to its true size, not small but manageable with Allah. Another reason remembering Allah's past help is powerful is because it builds gratitude. Gratitude and anxiety cannot dominate the heart at the same time. When gratitude enters, fear retreats. When remembrance deepens, panic softens. Allah does not ask you to trust Him without reason. He gives you evidence throughout your life. Every time you survived something you thought would destroy you, that was evidence. Every time relief came from a direction you did not expect, that was evidence. My dear brothers and sisters, do not let overthinking rewrite your story with Allah. Do not allow fear to erase years of divine care. This test is not proof that Allah has abandoned you. It is another chapter in a long history of His protection. If Allah carried you then, He will carry you now. And if He brings you through this, as He always has, you will look back and realize that overthinking was never the solution. Trust was. Remember who has always been there for you. That remembrance is strength. My dear brothers and sisters, let me leave you with this truth, and I want you to sit with it sincerely. Overthinking has never solved your problems. It has only stolen your peace. It has never brought you closer to Allah. It has only distracted your heart from Him, and it has never protected you from pain. It has only prolonged it. Allah did not create you to live trapped inside your thoughts. He created you to live connected to Him. When you overthink, you step into a role that was never yours. When you practice tawakkul, you return to your place as a servant who trusts his Lord. You are not being irresponsible by letting go. You are being obedient. You are saying, Ya Allah, I have done what I can, and now I leave what I cannot in your care. That sentence alone is freedom. Some of you are tired not because life is hard, but because you refuse to release what Allah is already handling. You are holding the rope while Allah is pulling you forward. Let go, not because everything makes sense, but because Allah does. Peace does not come when all questions are answered. Peace comes when the heart stops demanding answers and starts trusting the one who already knows. So tonight, when your mind begins to race, remind your heart of this. Allah has you. He has always had you. He will never abandon a heart that relies on Him. Release the burden. Choose tawakkul and watch how Allah replaces your anxiety with tranquility. Not because the world became easier, but because your heart finally learned where to rest. May Allah grant us hearts that trust Him fully, tongues that remember Him constantly, and souls that find peace in His decree. Ameen.